Looking forward to coming to America as a Canadian in 1 month's time, and it's exactly 1 month to the date that I will be presenting at Tesla Tech in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Yay.
It's going to be one awesome time, and a lot of what I'm going to be covering, and a lot of what actually most of the presenters there are in the field of dealing with is the same hydrogen, water, electrolysis, plasma, transmutation, cold fusion science. And it's the best possible converging minds in the actual academic world of the science and technology that I'm working on. So I've been, practicing and putting together one epic presentation, and it starts with the key aspect of hydrogen and what is hydrogen and how much I've learned from hydrogen doing alchemy, my version in the lab, which is electrochemistry, but specifically electrolysis is the breakdown of water, H2, 2 hydrogens, and O, oxygen, 1 oxygen. And that what we're looking at on the screen here is the hydrogen wave function probability charts, but it's more than charts. These are actual images from the most recent developed high-end electron microscopes. And what it shows, I see in it and understanding, is dimensional proportionality of valence shell distribution and the energy of it. And what I recently came up with in what I've called the misinterpretation of the double slit experiment, that a particle is in fact a nested bunch of fields. So it's a field, but it's field within a field within a field. The concentric valence shell orbitals of the electrons are in fact the fields that are made up of coherent standing waves, which are the energetic light waves that connect and make the bonds between molecules and densities of atoms and their structures. It's a completely new way of thinking and understanding of the electron and the proton and neutron, for that matter, the whole atom together. But what gives me absolute synchronicity and hope is the fact of, for those that have not yet watched, the Dr. Wei-Ping Yu and PhD of NASA with he did just go with Ashton Forbes on Tim Pool last week. That's a great episode, but the one specifically from 2 months ago, he was with Terrence Howard, and they were on the DBP or PBD podcast. But point of it, as I'm rambling on here, why all of this matters, why it's all so relevant, is Terrence Howard and Dr. Wei-Ping Yu of NASA Engineering and Theory of Everything Department will both be at Tesla Tech in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Presenting. They are the main headline presenters, where I get to do one-on-one interviews with them and setting up panels, discussions with them, and specifically Dr. Wei-Ping Yu on the PBD podcast with Terrence Howard 2 months ago stated publicly for the first time, admitting that science for the last 100 years has completely got wrong the fundamental particle of the electron and the atom and how it all works. And that the model that I'm seeing, describing, and putting together is actually what I see it to be and understand it to be. And that, well, we've now got the head of he's engineering propulsion, like deputy, and then head of the theory of everything department of NASA, and he now holds this new papers on how the electron and the inner molecule function, what they are, and it's well, oh, I'm not going to try misexplain or misquote him right now. He says a lot, but not too much about it on the previously mentioned podcast there with Terrence Howard. And I'm just very excited to have the opportunity to meet them in person and speak with them. And good question, MCM. And it's actually, that is a relevant question. It kills my soul a bit, but yes, Ken Wheeler, he's not the only one to get it, because he states that constantly, but he has made a lot of rediscoveries of the ancients and new discoveries to today, and it is magnetism at the heart of the proton neutron. And that was specifically one thing, Dr. Wei Ping, you did say on that podcast, is that the proton and the neutron are essentially two poles together that make up the center, and then the electron particle charge comes out of it in different ways. And so, yes, Ken Wheeler's magnetism has a very very relevant, very on point with a lot of it. And yeah.
I'm excited that you're going to be going to this conference. You're going to meet a lot of people. You're going to network like crazy, and you're going to share your stuff. And this is magic. I just got back from Sedona doing a conference there. Never been to Sedona. Sedona is one of the most beautiful places I've been in a while. But wow, you drive from Phoenix to Sedona, and man, 4/5 of that drive is like the most desolate area you've ever gone through. I mean,
straight desert.
Oh, it's
crazy.
I mean, I lived in Alberta. Alberta's not even like that. That's what blew my mind. I'm like, oh my God, you're looking at rubble hills. But strangely, outside of Phoenix, there's a lot of hills that look like pyramids, and I'll just leave it at that. But Sedona was super amazing. Like new moon, I had the most amazing view of the sky. I took some great photos of the Milky Way and met some great people at the conference. I spoke about symbology. But speaking about symbology, looking at what you're sharing here, Bernie, wow. I've got a couple of questions about some of this. So
absolutely. But first, shout out to Sedona and shout out to Sheila Rahman. She's from Sedona. Sorry if I just doxed her.
No worries.
But and sorry to her if I just doxed her. Don't know if she wants people to know that. But I will be interviewing her, well, next Wednesday, this upcoming Wednesday.
Right.
And yeah, she does extremely amazing work with sound engineering and specifically coherent wave geometry, which is so freaking relevant to what we are looking at right here. And back to the coherent wave geometry, making sense of all of this. Hans, do continue with your questions, sir.
Well, again, shout out to Sedona, beautiful skies, whatnot. Man, it was 120 degrees driving back to Phoenix, but that's a whole nother story. So looking at what you're sharing here, I guess the bottom two left pieces are the most fascinating to me, because not only do they show waveforms, but symbology that we're using today. So in the second, yeah, that one there, you've got N5L2. Hold on, go back up to the other one. Yeah, that one, correct. Whoops.
This one, right?
Yeah, so N5L2 at the bottom. Yeah, keep going down. Yeah. Zoom out.
Sorry, one
Whatever you
second.
do.
There we go.
Yeah. So this is what the Maltese cross. That's really interesting. And so my question is, what are the vibrations of each of these levels? This is hydrogen, correct?
This is hydrogen, and it's where the valence shell is active, where they say the electron is on the shell, the orbital, the probability of the density of the energy coming out. So it's at the active state. And you are correct with the Maltese cross and the different symbologies of
all of this makes
proportion.
so much sense with what I look into. And so
yeah, and me as well, right?
Vibrational level is fascinating because
it's also what gave me the idea and the code of the dot, the line, and the zero, which are essentially what I've been decoding as the source code. What's I originally had referred to as the God code, but I'm calling it the source code because that was what it is. It's the source of mathematics, proportions, and the different numerical systems and how geometry works and entropy is all.
We talked about this in the green room a couple weeks ago. Oh my God. Wow. All right.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And
so zoom back out, I guess. I mean, I'm just looking at this going, there's so much symbology references here. It's wow, that's so amazing.
Right. So N1, orbital 1, orbital 2, 3, 4, and then the extra inputs of dimensions. So it's like 5 dimensions, but 0 dimensions. Oh, all of this is a 0? No, this is obviously 0 also equals 1. And that goes back to one more thing that was on the Terrence Howard.
It radiates out.
Yeah, but so with my new understanding of the proportionality, what 0 is and what Terrence Howard has been arguing about 1 times 1 equals 2, and Wei-Ping Yu specifically of NASA, he instantly was like, yes, Howard or Terrence, but you're talking on a higher dimensional scale, right? And he just like left it at that. So he was recognizing that it was correct, but he was also showing the difference of like, Terrence, stop trying, but he didn't yet say put this part in, which I think Terrence needs the reference of, is that it's opposed to the linear system that our mathematics and language and current system is based off of. And it tied in also to what Wei-Ping Yu also said, but he said this one on the Ashton Forbes Tin Pool and Him episode last week.
I was about to say, did you have direct contact with him? No, he was on Tim Pool. All right, interesting.
And on the PBD, so 2 separate ones. But it's on the Ashton Forbes one, he specifically said a perpetual motion system is impossible, but an open system is completely different, aka when referring to free energy. And that, yes, so a linear closed system like the single line, the straight line vector, specifically this one-dimensional flat plane line linear time physics that things have been written under, yes. But as soon as you open it up to a higher dimension, aka a second plane coming in, or a third where you have full volume, densities, higher densities of energies and flow and engineering, well, free energy is beyond the electrical free energy engineering something like a solar panel or unit essentially is that free energy, is what he was saying, and completely turning the modern academic physics claim of debunking the second law of thermodynamics void, which I've been saying and explaining repeatedly over the years. If you haven't heard it, why the second law of thermodynamics does not apply to these different working over unity devices and free energy devices that are actually out there. It's because it is an open source. It's an open circuit. The energy isn't coming from nowhere. It's just harnessing it, a lot of cases, from the environment around it. And
What
thus,
Tesla was doing with his Warden Cliff Tower experiment.
exactly. And he was harnessing the highest source from the ionosphere.
Yeah,
And
he's like,
that differential is insane. That gives you lightning
ground
bolts.
is the atmosphere, and the receiver is the Earth. Yeah,
Exactly. And
that's correct.
uh, yeah, so there's a lot to it, and for those that haven't seen those two interviews or podcasts, highly recommend them. And
Put them in the chat if you can. Yeah.
yeah, I'll do that in a minute. First, though, I've got to share a couple things for you, my friend, that I'm sure you will find interesting. And it's in regards to what I've written out with how there's like the old symbols of zero, how zero is one, but also minus
Oh
one.
God.
Uh,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
it's crazy things, and then how these symbols break down into numbers and the proportionalities of the numbers and the symbols that go with them. These are just jots. It's not coherent, so don't try to. This is a little bit more, but it's all going into the presentation and the source code of numbers, how they work, and how we did not come up with them at all. They actually function in quite their own universal geometric way, and
So does this
sounding
get
insane.
into Kadinkras? So I don't remember the scientist that was talking about this. Sorry, off the top of my head, but he's talking about Kadinkras and how he discovered in quantum mathematics and quantum physics an underlying code that's always been there. And it's a code that recorrects itself, similar to what we use in AI now and what we use in the internet before AI. So, huh.
Yes, you are bang on. It is exactly that. I've actually been looking into
Thomas,
what did you call it? The kinetronics or whatever.
what's that?
What did you call it?
He calls them Kadinkras. So you would
Oh,
find
Kadinkras.
these
Okay, sorry.
images, they're all symbology. His name is Thomas. God, I can't think of his name. We've got clean water and clean air, but it's not the cleanest water. But this
You
is
can clean it.
well,
That's
this is
point.
the whole deal. And so I've been fascinated with extra hydrogen in water, and yeah.
I 100% approve. When I make the atomic hydrogen water, the hydrogen actually sparkles, like it does a very small sonoluminescence as it breaks in the electrolysis reaction. And that's a very key part to tie it back into what we were discussing at the very beginning of hydrogen, the power of hydrogen, and let there be light, as I titled the stream. And we will get back to the light of actual hydrogen and explain a little bit more of what it is that we see in here and the technology of what is hydrogen and the light that comes from it, and that in specific electrolysis reactions that I have engineered and developed, it been able to create the sparkling hydrogen out of the center of the breaking of the electrochemical reaction that happens in electrolysis. And that specifically, when I'm making the monoatomic off of the sacrificial anode side, and the single atom of that um, metal element that bonds with the water as the electron connects in, and you get that sparkling hydrogen atom up. They're hand in hand, and they're two parts of the I guess the holy trinity of what free energy really is and meant to be, and that is water powered cars that everybody can do, and that it is extremely easy to convert, especially diesel, but also gasoline engine vehicles
Two,
into
two
hybrids.
questions now that you've pawned. So, the first is looking at all these symbols from different stages of hydrogen, different reactions. Is there a crossover to what was done with the symbology in water? I can't remember the Japanese guy's name, Miyamoto, maybe. He was doing his water experiments. Yeah,
Emoto.
freezing water, and you get very similar symbology. That's question one. Hold on. Question two, you were talking about hydrogen cars. So Toyota just released their first water engine. So I'm curious what your thoughts are on that. But
I've been following that, and yeah, that's been what I've been saying for a very long time, that specifically why hydrogen technology keeps being delayed is because inevitably it will evolve to the simplest solution being water powered cars, because you make the electrolysis on site of the hydrogen and oxygen, and with today's batteries you have enough electrical energy to do it, and to do the make a hybrid vehicle with hydrogen fuel out of the water that you use in the tank.
obviously, we've had other devices in the past where people sadly have been offed.
Yeah, rest in peace, Stanley Myers.
The GEAT energy device as well.
Yeah, there's been many. Been a
So
whole.
I'm fascinated that Toyota is able to launch this, and
Well, it's because they're in Japan with a very limited amount of fuel and resources, right? So,
oh no, you nailed that. Thank you. Yeah,
that's why.
interesting.
That is why they're
If I could
allowed.
upgrade my RAV4 to a water
And
engine.
they also have a lot of hydrogen cells and hydrogen vehicles in Toyota, Honda, Suzuki, and the rest of them, as well as the Korean ones too. It's just that they could never make them
No,
efficient or cost effective enough, because you have to constantly replace the water, because the water is the fuel that you're making the hydrogen out of, and that trying to compress this hydrogen gas fuel and then transport it or ship it is so dangerous, right? And then have compressed hydrogen tanks in your vehicle, like, it's so dangerous. That's why it
you're
never
driving on a
worked.
time bomb. Yeah.
But if you have water as your liquid fuel instead of pressurized gas, and just add a little bit of voltage into it, and oh, look at that, we have
Wait, I
hydrogen
hear
gas.
explosions on the street tonight. Oh wait, that's just the fireworks. Anyway.
Yeah, that's just fireworks. But here we go to answer your question with the Moto's ice and my work and how it
Oh
structures
wow.
ice cubes and water. 100%. Look, there you go. We got exclusion zones. We straight up have
What is sorry, what is this?
This is my ionic gold water you're looking at right here. And
It's
it
frozen
has ice
state.
cube. Yeah, just ice cubes of my structured gold water. And you can see, well, real structured water. Undeniably, it does this every time from the gold water. And it makes the field lines so that, yeah.
Oh, so that's not just your finger like showing shadow through it. That's
No,
actually
no, not at all, man. This is real structured water. Look at these, every single
uh,
one.
what?
I've been documenting this for quite some time now.
Damn, that's amazing. Wow, I've never seen it. Sorry, I guess I haven't seen your documentation on this.
Yeah, yeah, it's
Just
more evidence of why I need to
what's
ship
what's
you.
what's pulling it into that corner is the question.
Well, it could be the triple coil, but then there's more than three, so you never know. But it's the fact that I need to ship you your water. I'm sorry, Hans, we will get it, but here
I
you go.
know you'll do it eventually. Yes, thank you.
Right, but some of that purple gold ionic mono, well, it's not monatomic because it's clusters. Well, I guess it's clustered monoatomics, aka plasmid gold, purple nano ionic
You
water there.
can send this in smaller containers. That would
Yes,
be
absolutely.
that would be the best way. Something
Working on it.
like this size.
Yeah, exactly. Like this little guy.
Yep.
Mm.
No, I'd be down to experiment with that. Oh my god, you have no idea.
Yeah, and quite possible. And yes, I need a mass spectrometer coming up ASAP because of, and like you were saying, you were adding chemicals to the water to affect the
It's
alkalinity.
it's I think it's a titanium plate that it goes over, and so there's a reaction with the electrolysis.
Yeah, yeah, because I've been doing the same stuff with running titanium coils with as electrodes and getting extremely alkaline water. And then there's other ones I do that can get some acidic water, and that is your hydrogen and oxygen ratios within the water as it's being stripped, and the compounds and the reactions that happen again in electrolysis, which is alchemy, which you got, you got your
Oh,
um,
pull it down. Pull it down.
anode, right? You got your anode, that's a sacrificial metal, and then you got
Pull,
your
pull.
cathode, which your hydrides form on, and your oxides form on the sacrificial anode. And then you got your atomic hydrogen, which goes up and sparkles. Yeah,
Interesting.
it could be, maybe, but I don't know. I don't know. The guy said it was titanium. I don't think, but you're right.
I
Few people
believe
said that
that's
was.
what's in the machine. It's a titanium.
He's talking on
It's
my
not
view.
a flat
Not
plate.
yours.
It has levers like 5 to 10 levers on it that stick up out of it. So there's a waveform that is created, I believe, through the water passing over it.
Absolutely. Well, it's the electrolysis reaction of stripping some of the hydrogens out of the water and leaving extra oxygen that then
So
create the alkalinity.
how do you create extra hydrogen? That is the ultimate question. Because
Oh, I know how. It's
this is the one
specifically
that
that's
boggles.
specifically what I've been engineering, and it's when you're ripping. It's a because electrolysis is electrochemical reaction out of the water involving the water, and you're ripping oxygen molecules, and you're ripping or atoms, and you're ripping hydrogen atoms out of liquid water. And a certain specific amount of them you can turn into pure atomic hydrogen gas. A certain specific amount of them turn into hydride metal compounds on the cathode, and a certain amount of them turn into specific oxygen oxide metal compounds off the anode. But another specific amount of them can be re added into the liquid liquid H2O solution and change it into HHOs and HHOOs and also other hydrogen isotopes with extra neutrons and extra oxygen neutrons. And now we're getting into nuclear material. And
Okay, another question. Sorry, didn't mean to cut you off there. What would be the benefits of extra hydrogen in water?
It's definitely electrically charged.
Okay.
There's been lots of studies, but I don't want to speculate and I don't want to go
Not,
into
not,
health
not a word.
aspects. But my own charged water, I feel, is, the potential uh, of being the fountain of youth, and that I continue to drink it. And I never drink the colloidal, which is the oxides, which will turn you blue and kill you, like this right here, right? That's toxic.
God,
The rest are
I want to drink that.
hydrides,
I want to
which,
drink that right now. What are you talking about?
right? But when you got this stuff, never consume it, but unless you do and you know what you're doing and what it is. But yeah, the pure fluffy stuff and the ionic water that is above it. And the first batch is when you put the electricity in and add the extra charge and get the dissolved atomic hydrogen within that water. That's when you get that extra zap out of it.
Wow. Wow. Thank you. Fascinating.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is.
Beyond my wheelhouse, but I needed to ask these questions because obviously I'm curious. I'm drinking very hydrogenated water, so it's like
right. So looking back at the hydrogen wave function probability, and then this one right here, this is how we connect it all through ancient alchemy and through sound. And look at this, the sound bubble and wave model. Like, that looks an awful lot like what we were seeing at the centers of those hydrogen
and
wave
even
functions.
even in your ice bubbles, you have that.
Exactly. It's exactly what's in the ice bubble. Yes, that's what it is. That's what it is. It's showing the electric
Wow.
wave function. It's showing the wave function. Wow. Yes.
If you hadn't come to
Boom.
that,
Boom. Boom. That's what it is.
that's what it
It's the
is.
wave function that we're seeing in the structured water of the ice as the hydrogen's coming out. That's
Super blurry, so I'm going off screen.
no worries. And yeah, that's pretty mind-blowing. Image credit John Stewart Reed's cinematoscope.com. Interesting.
Looks like nesting tech. All right. Yeah, it kind of does.
Everything is nesting tech essentially, because even hydrogen as a light or as a particle is this, right? But it's light and sound connected, I believe. Both.
Thank you, Rachel. Great
Coherent.
statement. I don't know why you're blurry right now. Like,
look at me. I am blurry.
Beyond, brother. That's why I went off screen. I'm like,
No, that's me. It needs to refocus. So, Hans, maybe take it away for a minute, and I'm also going to clear out Bert and Ernie so I can show some live electrolysis of the hydrogen being formed and how easy it is to do.
So I've always been curious about sigils, and sigils also have this kind of resonance. I've got this amazing book called The Grimoire of Heaven and Hell.
I've always had white and black together as the polar colors of, like, pure light is creation, black is the absorption, and like the parallel or the perpendicular of it.
Then you have
But
yellow and red
the shadow.
without
And
symbol.
so the opposite is the polarization, the life bread, the red and the blue, the hydrogen and the oxygen. Okay, and that red is the sacrifice, and blue, it's the hot, the infrared, right? And then the blue is the cold plasma, and that like spiritual, like plasma beings, angels have always appeared as blue or white, essentially, and that the devil is always the red, the flame, and the blood, right? The written in blood. So the fact that in that book it has the red as the angel writing, and that it's black, but was black a distortion of conversion of blue? Did they cover blue to black,
So
be
in,
able to use red?
in
uh,
Vedic
Urdu?
in Hindu religion, some of the gods and goddesses are depicted as black, some of them are depicted as white, but you also have this amalgamation of this blue and red as well. And so
Right,
they're
like there's, yeah,
definitely
the
they're
demigods
definitely
were blue and red.
neutral demigods. Yeah, interesting.
Right? So God is white, and then death is black, which is essentially a neutral, right? The decay, and then you have the red and the blue, which is the explosion and the implosion. And
The breath of Brahma, breathing out, which is the expansion of the universe, and then breathing back in, which is the contraction of the universe.
yes, sir, that duality, that's
Wow.
dual existence that comes, right? And that, right? So the white, bright light, that is God's will of creation. But in creation, there is,
Darkness.
yeah, well, with, um,
Things breed in darkness that then create light.
there couldn't be
Have the
eternal,
opposite.
infinite expansion without some destruction, and then this creation of the cycle of life, and thus the death, right? And the shadow, right? So death, but death and black. So
Hold on. You bury
key revolution.
the seed in the earth in darkness, and then it springs forth and creates light.
Yes, and in that seed is the genetics from the parents, but also with shadow. So this is a key revelation of death, and the black is that it is a shadow. It's not nothing, that it's your reflection, your infinite existence that create exists on as the ripple throughout time as it goes in. And that when you get into the full density of it, right, going back into the dirt with the seed and the new life that comes back out, and the same life continues. It's, yeah, white's black is one thing. And then when you add the second dimension, you have the polarization of implosion, explosion, the red, blue. And in a chemical reaction, it is the hydrogen as the red, the oxygen as the blue. And with that as well, you have magnetism, and that on the oxygen side of chemistry, you have your magnetic force attached to those elements and compounds, and then it's the endothermic reaction. And on the hydrogen and hydride red hot side, you have your electrical components and electrically conductive reactive elements and materials. That's a key thing I have.
Are you getting red and blues out of your experiments? Like,
Oh yes, constantly. And
so,
they're also
so
acidic at, so
hold
red
on,
is acidic.
hold on a second.
Yeah.
Think about our blood. We have blue and red blood flowing.
And what is it? It's hydrogen and oxygen. It's well known about the oxygen and oxides. The second half is the hydrogen, and it's the electrical component. It's your
I'm
electron to
very curious
photon.
about that. Yeah.
It's the light. It's everything. And that when you get to neutral, the pure creation and whatnot, it is white, and that is your monoatomic. So that's the neutral aspect. So you have a monoatomic, you have an oxide, and you have a hydride. And that is your neutral electric and magnetic polarizations of electrochemistry elements. And it's also directly ties into and is explained in the Walter Russell vortex and octave based periodic table of elements. And you see, as you go further down, you get more oxidized or heavy and magnetic, and the hot at the top of each.
Across all these elements, neon, argon.
Yes.
Really interesting.
Yes, and that's how it ties in. And so
we have clean blood going into our heart, the red, and then we have our blue veins, which are filtering out all of. Wow, interesting. I've never really thought of it like this, but that's really fascinating.
Right, it's all tied in together. The Walter Russell diagrams truly I've been putting a lot of work into them and fully understanding them, as have others. And so another key aspect in understanding this is your base, your alkaline, your alkalinity is blue as it turns. So in the litmus paper tests, in light,
blue
it is
the better
ultraviolet. Okay, it is the base bottom of the end spectrum as its light waves are shrinking down, right? You have your blue, purple, ultraviolet. On the opposite side is the red spectrum of our visible light, and it is the hot. It's the growing hotter, and it's literally infrared waves, okay? So it's literally red, blue is the little
infrared
entrance and exit, infrared and ultraviolet. Those are the entry and exit points of the average visible light wave of humanity. And when understanding
very limited, yes.
And understanding that, and that blue is shrinking, and it goes into the cold. It is endothermic. It is oxygen. It is magnetic. And red is your hydride. It is your heat. It is your I believe gamma is above infrared, but it might be the opposite way.
What gamma? Sorry.
Right. She was asking where gamma is. I'm trying to think which direction. I think it's above. Yeah, I think it's the up way. It's above where micro
gamma would be radiation, so it would be in the red.
Yeah, see, right, and radiation, right? That's decay, that's heat, that's breakup, that's fire. What's blue? It's cooling, it's solidifying, it's solid, it's getting denser, it's heavier, it's magnetic, it's got more weight, it's got it goes into the higher densities.
So this actually should be a gradient from.
It 100% is a gradient. It's
white,
the octave
white in the
gradient
middle,
scale.
where we're looking now, gradiating out to red, and gradiating out to blue from a white. Yeah.
Yes, sir. A white and a black, right? You have the white in the middle. You have the black on the structures. It's which, sorry, wait, my camera's off. It's the cross of the points, the intersections of the full circle, next dimension, segment, section of that nested bubble of field. Remember what I was saying? Nested bubble of fields, exactly as the hydrogen wave functions also are, and exactly as my misinterpretation of the double slit experiment being that a particle exists as nested fields of coherent standing waves.
God, I
And
want to lecture, man. I'm fascinated now what you're going to talk about.
right, and while you're hearing some of it right now, first, this is part of it as I'm putting it all together, getting it ready. And what are the geometries that we see? And it is a big part of the theory of everything and understanding light, wave, particle, field, physics, how energy works, transferring it into one form and another. That consciousness is connected into it. That's a topic for another day, or maybe I'll go
So
further and
what is 2SM0? That's the
2 dimensions one way, 0 dimensions the other way,
quantum.
in the density of the wave particle of the energy of the hydrogen atom.
So this is the ancient symbol for the sun, or un, or on, in ancient Suf Commission.
Two powers right on. Yeah. So
It's
this
the
is
sun.
2 dimensions.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So this is what this symbol is to me. Yeah. So that's two. And oh my God, this oh my God, because it is the God code, because it is the source code. I've known it all along, and it's like what we're looking at is exactly part of this right here, part of this right here, and then it's also a big part of this right here. You have the one, sorry, you have one, then you have two dimensions, then you have three, but they're
in
vectors.
your third quadrant, there in the upper part at the top, you have the circle within the circle, and so there you have it again.
Yes, exactly. This
No. Yeah,
right there. Yeah.
correct.
So this is 2 and O. This is 2 and O, but I guess
What does that represent? I'm curious because this is the
2
symbol.
dimensions
This
of
is
planes
it's the symbol of the sun, and so it's also
and gold and the right hand rule.
Yes, correct.
Right? So it's so much more. And I believe yeah. Well, it is 2 dimensions, the dot and the circle together. It is particle, but it's missing the line. And the line is the third piece, right? Because you have to have, there's the line, there's the circle, and there's the dot, and they're how they connect to dimensions together. So here, right here, you have the
It's
zero.
separated, but it makes sense. Yeah, correct. Yep.
Yeah, so there's a lot to it. These are just pieces of it, not necessarily coherent ones because they're just parts. And
That's your genius, brother.
it's a work in progress, and it is the source code, right? Look what else we got there with certain ones. There's proportionality to volume, physics, and vectors of, well, mathematics, geometry, and all physics fit into it as well. There's a little bit more. It's literally the source code. It's coming together, but literally,
Have you ever thought of
you gotta source it.
overlapping all those pages so that
They're coming together.
like
Yes.
if you were shining a light through all of them, they would have
The full,
vision.
you get the full hologram of it in density in time. Exactly. Just like if you flip them all quickly like an old comic book or 8mm
That's
film.
kind of where I was going with that. If you could overlay all of them.
Yes, and you're connecting to the key part of it, my friend, and that is how time works and dimensions work, and that each moment of time is essentially a disk, right, with all of that information in that one moment captured. It's a fractal of the overall mental or
Right.
pieces of time. And just like a page of a book represents a moment in that story, as does a fractal dimension of a moment disk, one-dimensional part of time. So from an individual reference point, yes, the earth is flat from every 1 sense. But when you start adding 3 dimensions, when you have trigonometry of 3 source points, boom, now you have a full volume of a sphere, and you can actually do real experiments to measure. And yes, we do exist on a globe, but it could be within the overall torus, because as you add each dimension, it is all toruses. And then it's like, but they're torus disks and
Turtles all the
together.
way down.
Yeah, right. So it's dots, holes, and lines all the way down.
Turtles.
That is my source code. It is dots, lines, and holes, and it's what gives you stuff like this, right? Oh, dot. What do you see? I see dots, lines, and holes. And this is right here. That is the hydrogen wave function probability as you get to dimensions and energies. And all I see is dots, lines, and holes. And that with them you get the different mathematical proportions of relativity, energy, density, proportion. But the craziest part is something like this, when you have this reaction going on or something
There's
similar.
your sun
It's
within the sun.
no, it's this one. Yeah, it's your plasma orb. No, this one is your plasma orb. So here is the biggest key to the secrecy of hydrogen, hydrogen energy, and the hydrogen bomb, people. Okay, so here is why Bernie, oh, we don't believe you. You don't make hydrogen. You've never blown yourself up. You should be dead. Oh, what do you mean you understand how to make the
Does
hydrogen
does
bomb?
work
Blah,
like,
blah, blah. No,
does
I
like
fucking am a genius, and I've stayed alive intentionally to never verify instant like results of showing transmutation on high levels that I know how to do by combining my material with, say, things as microwaves and the pure plasma arc energies, okay, at extremely high voltages. But I'm literally fucking making atomic hydrogen that sparkles, okay, and hydrogen fuel and HHO gas and the vapors and HH and H3 and H4 and them as solids and them as isotopes. And if anybody in the world truly understands what I just said, and when per se you take like the technology of Hutchinson, adding in like radiation of radio signals and sonars, or
and
aka
all the crystalline
like
matters that he was
per
using.
se, just putting it in a microwave, which is known to transmutate and create plasma, which is this. And if you have that in a reaction that has sparkling atomic hydrogen and you get that plasma arc going, what, like,
Wow.
I'm pretty sure that's what gives you this dimension right here, which is that pure release of hydrogen energy, which is the break in and break down out of the Coulomb barrier, the Planck's constant size, that anything smaller than that, and that you're getting into light wave particle physics of the field and the energy of, boom, hydrogen. And when it's on one dimension, you get hydrogen gas fuel. When you have it on a second or third degree, say, energetic breakdown of the supposed.
So the lower right of this is what I was talking about. If you layer all this on top of each other, you get that.
Yeah. And so what I'm talking about is dimensions of magnitude, right? So we all understand dimensions of magnitude? So it's dimensions of density, of exponential, right? So hydrogen gas exploding on one, hydrogen plasma exploding on the other, hydrogen atomic exploding on the next, and yeah. So just combining 3 magnitudes of plasma, electricity, sound, and atomic hydrogen in the electrolysis reaction. And especially when, say, you have created around your triple coil a bunch of tritium and deuterated anode cathode materials that are in an ionic solution with your atomic hydrogen, you might accidentally blow up the universe, because supposedly that's what fucking happened when humanity tried to make the H-bomb. Like, from all the, like, this straight up disclosure, never really talked about this before, but you can hear it on both like the Russian conspiracy channels, like videos and stuff from the 80s, 90s, but also straight up what I've been told in private from all the OGs from when I was in APEC and shit. People have told me off camera is that the UFOs did appear at the H-bomb testing specifically and stopped it.
Hydrogen. It was a
and
hydrogen
and the
bomb.
hydrogen had in fact gone into this like exponential chain reaction of like energy release, that it's like the whole area just, I don't like it. Could it turn into like a black hole or a freaking sun? Or I don't even know what. Maybe a sun. Maybe I don't know. But yeah, maybe I don't know what.
But only for an instance.
No, but it's that it burns all water into that. That's the thing. It was literally starting the chain reaction that was turning all water or water vapor that was around it into that hydrogen reaction. So they literally started blowing up our entire ocean, sky, clouds, and everything, and that the fucking UFOs had to come in and stop it. And that is why this technology has been classified the entire time. But as I'm going to be demonstrating and have already demonstrated with Jeremiah, shout out Jeremiah Pop, my man, we did recreate in electrolysis in a two-dimensional energetic magnitude reaction of the white plasma arc and the electrolysis with atomic hydrogen, and transmuted it successfully into helium. And that is what we are going to be demonstrating again. And that is the fucking relevance and amazingness of this, is it's demonstrating that we can do the atomic fucking hydrogen reaction fusion without doing the uncontrollably exploding all of the water and oceans in the world that apparently the Americans and maybe also the Russians both did when they fucking did the H-bombs, and why it has been classified ever since. And that, people, is your moment of Zen and my understanding of this. And when I'm talking about that, I've also produced in large amounts and stabilized deuterite compounds and tritium compounds. Okay, those are also these hydrogens. Okay, hydrogens, but with the extra nucleus. What does extra nucleus mean? It has the extra mass of another dimension and another dimension. Okay, so I can produce solid ones of these. All right, and then I'm talking about, in those other reactions, and boom, okay, I literally, why I don't release lots of what I have developed and am talking about is because it is this potential. I've known it from the beginning and I understand it, but I intentionally do not cross specific thresholds, but have been engineering around it to get it. And that when you get to like this one or this one, you also have the sustained plasma orb ball lightning. Okay, that's the other aspect
God, I hope
of this science
at your convention, man. Oh my God.
Yeah, well, you heard it here first, because that is the true let the light shine, because it is the white light, pure plasma density energy of these hydrogen reaction. Yeah, well, it's that energy in all of it, but there's ways of not doing it, well, engineering both and containing. So what it is engineering and containing both the creation and destruction of the intensities of those energies in these concentric fields within themselves, and the reactions that are going on within it, to get those contained or sustained plasma orb ball lightning.
It's interesting looking at this graph that you have here, that it kind of repeats itself from beginning to ending. So
absolutely, it is the structure, the source code of energy density.
Your first piece ends at your last piece, kind of thing. Your third piece up in the upper left, or yeah, exactly. The third piece in the upper left, yeah, third piece. That one, yep. Ends up down at the bottom and separated. They all kind of repeat themselves, and it's like a different energy combustion of sorts.
Yeah, it's literally dimensional waves. So again, getting back to understanding the misinterpretation of the double slit experiment, is a particle, or is light a particle or a wave, and that it's at a particle consists of these nested, see, nested right here, concentric circles of standing waves. So the standing waves are the resonant frequencies of the light or
phases, but then they come back to the center.
In the particles, right? So they're these fields, they're these stable fields of these concentric, coherent standing waves. And standing waves are scalar waves. They're three resonant waves oscillating together on the same frequencies in the three different octaves of each other. Yes, that's what it is.
I'm looking at the repetition, and as the repetition grows, it separates, and this, you see this in all these forms.
Yeah, exactly.
You have repeating forms with the doubles, the third one from the upper right.
So what was steampunk? What was steampunk? What was all the hydrogen and hydrogen water breakdowns? And that's another key part to the technology. And yeah, man, just crystals into water. So here, this right here, so look at this as the pole of magnetism, or the pull of the moving center sun to the earth around it, and that we then have the moon again. So when I did the triple coil windings, that's also later Bob Grenier was also saying and came up with on his own, that several people just instinctually did. It's because where I got the inspiration was this right here. And yeah, it's I found out later it was also the same.
Show that again. What actually is that?
It turns into what's called the bagel coil, or it's the triple spire around a spire around a spire.
Copper wound around what?
So I do the innermost, as Bob Grenier suggested, and it's correct 100%, is iron, and that's because it's like the magnetic core, and it's with when like you have a solenoid, or like your Tesla coils or your vortex coils, any of them, through the center is where you have your iron in electric engineering of a transformer where you're stepping up or stepping down the voltage. You have the magnetic piece in the middle, right? So through the center is where you have your
This
ferrite
might have
core.
been similar to the piece that I've described several times on your show now that I saw.
Right, so this is your ferrite core. Then this is what I have is the copper wire, and then I usually have silver coated copper where the moon is, but ultimately I want to get the gold to be or the sun to be gold. The earth, I still have to fully figure that out because copper is
What do
Venus.
you want to do with
Not
this?
correct. But
Curious.
so these coils create, well, they're
This reminds me of
big secret right here revealed for the first time ever. This combination, when you have it three of the exact same metals like copper on copper, copper, iron, 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 aluminum, 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 it literally one half turns red, one half turns blue over and over and over again. And then it's doing that on the anode and cathode verse both on
Curious
both.
why aluminum?
So I'm just saying it doesn't, if it's any element, so you would just have wires of the same element. And I've repeated the process with these specific wires that I had that I know and where these pure elements, why I did repeated them in this process. And it does the red, blue, red, blue, red, blue on both. And then afterwards, it then fully coats on one as, oh God, I'm get like this is the process that when you do it and tweak it specific ways, you start getting solid hydrogen, what appear to be isotopic crystals and molecules that keep building and building from nano layers of deposits as the electrochemistry continues to go on in this perfect pure triple electromagnetic symmetry that is the same reaction movement as this system right here. And in Bob Greenyer's tests, where they actually put about 1,000 or maybe even 10,000 volts into this coil, you can see them all over that they literally have giant big blue plasma and purple fields that form throughout. Like it literally looks like a little stargate of plasma that happens when it. But why I don't put that much in, right? So, Bernie, why haven't you blown yourself up? Because I only use a D battery or a CAC battery, or at the very most, I use my little 5-volt AC charger. So that even that, I don't like having this size of coil in electrolysis with just salt water and 5 volts because I don't want to explode from producing so much hydrogen off of the reaction. Okay, like it's so insane that I've intentionally never crossed specific thresholds, even though it would very, very, very easily demonstrate massive gains and proofs of concept simply because it would produce so much energy I would fucking explode and die like so many other but I'm not going to, okay, because I'm fucking smarter than your average hydrogen bear, all right, and that's why Bernie is where Bernie is at and doesn't have any funding yet because I don't have a safe lab to demonstrate the capabilities without fucking exploding because of the levels of hydrogen that I'll be producing, as well as atomic hydrogen, as that sparkles, okay, as well as
have you ever tried to find levitation with any of that outside?
No, because that involves 3 to 4 dimensions of magnitudes of energy combined with that I don't want to accidentally trigger the hydrogen bomb
I'm
reaction
talking
with the
outside of the water. have you ever tried to create an energy field that could produce?
Oh, yes. So this is a story for a complete other day. It was actually the story I was intending on telling uh, when I was setting up the stream before. I had lovely, amazing Hans join us today, and it's kind of good that I did because I've actually laid down the light of the hydrogen aspects and explaining the dimensionality proportions of the getting to the H bond level and what. So here's what was classified in 1951 with the H bomb. It was called inertial electrostatic confinement fusion. Inertial static electro confinement fusion. What do we have here? It looks like frozen inertial
Exactly.
electrostatic confinement. What, like, what else do we have? Well, we have all sorts of different things to go through, but I don't have too many of them loaded. But we'll go back just to this guy for a moment for the purpose of sound bubble, wave model, cymatic scope.
And your ice.
Right? Exactly. And what is in that ice? It is hydrogen and oxygen bubbles that are literally
But
confined.
they create the waveform, and I think that's fascinating.
And that they self-arrange into this confinement field, right? And well, that whole square, how do you square the circle? And the dimensions of standing waves
Yep.
and proportionality and how they structure within themselves. But it's as, see how it's going smaller to more denser. It's also these geometries actually get denser on the outer valence shells because there's more electrons per shell, right? So it's more standing waves connecting as you get denser and denser into whether it's a crystal or a heavier elemental particle, okay, as you are in the harmonic oscillation of the sound octave coherence of the density of your endothermic, exothermic, electromagnetic reality of sound and light, bubble, nesting, coherence, and the misinterpretation of the double slit experiment and what it actually is, and that a particle, as we know it, the atom, is made of nested standing waves of coherent light and sound and electromagnetism. And then you get into the volume of the third and fourth densities of fractal reflection and bonding creation, at which point you're getting into the local gravitational volume rotation and folding in and folding out of space-time densities, and thus you get the micro to macro, ever expanding and contracting in and out of fields of everything, just like the very atoms that make us up exist as do, well, the galaxies, the universes, and let's see.
Universe and everything. Yes.
Let's see if I can find one of my little galactic. Oh, well, we'll play this little video first, just as a demonstration of the anode cathode galvanic reaction of monatomic electrolysis and hydrogen oxygen breakdown. And what the fuck does that jibber jabbled bunch of words mean? What am I talking about? I am talking about that you can see right here. You have in front of us a 2-ounce pure silver Olympic Montreal, I think 72 Olympic coin. And next to it, you have a second identical coin, but that I had it treated with a nano coating. And what the nano coating does is that I'm breaking down the outer bonds, the whatever the bonds are within the bonds of a solid element, specifically metals, is that no, it's said it a million times. Not coming to my head right now. Anyways, little bonds of the atoms of the silver that keep them together. On the outermost, or the second coin, I treated the outer full coating of the coin in a manner to break down and create a nano
The silver, right?
layer of where it's barely turning on. So it turns black, right? And a lot of times, well, fire, ash, and say it turns to carbon, and you get these outer coatings. And that is, as you're breaking down, you're burning that element up. It's going from the solid, you're breaking those solid fields and turning it into the gas and the plasma, the energy coming out. Right? It's this exothermic reaction compared to the endothermic solidification. But here it's going into liquidification. And that by having one coin in its solid state and the opposite coin nano coated, and then in the center of it, you can't see, but above water, I just have its pressure connected with the clamp, but in between it is a small piece of copper wire that is not coated. So the copper is above the water, and it's connecting the two pieces of the silver coin. So that's what's creating this small electric circuit and differential between the two, especially with the opposing coin that is still of the same resonant harmonic mass of the anode and the cathode, right? So they're in the same harmonic there, that you get this full coherent reaction, which then triggers both the production of hydrogen off of the one metal coin here, which self turns into the cathode. And then on the opposite side, where the outer bonds of the solid silver metal have been broken down into these nano layer, you then have it dissolving into the water and breaking down as the pure white monoatomic silver without having to dilute or first saturate the water. And it's not creating or needing the electrical input or causing the oxidization of the sacrificial anode metal side that is breaking down into the pure single solid monoatomic neutral element, pure element. There we go. So that's the end of this presentation of how you make monoatomic silver and
So are you just
monoatomics.
silver coins, and then one of them is different?
You can.
They're connected between the two with a copper coil, is what you're saying. That's outside
with a small copper wire. Small copper wire. You can see it.
It's
right
out
here. So here's the little piece of wire, the copper wire that goes right there. And then it goes up, and you can see the other end right here. And it's literally stops right there, and it's just holding them up, keeping them connected, and keeps that little above water differential. and then you have the one here with the straight metal, and then you have the opposite one that is the nano-coated reaction or breakdown, which creates that differential of anode, cathode, and electrolysis breakdown. And you actually in the center get these. You can't see it right now because it's literally being blocked by the coin. But when they're that close together, you get an increased reaction of the inner hydrogen and electrolysis production. And in those atomic hydrogens, you get the sparkle of the supercavitation. And
deteriorate the coins.
It deteriorates the sacrificial anode.
Interesting. Okay.
That's part of the galvanic cell. That's a part of electrochemistry. It's the key. It's one of the keys of making batteries and systems and everything. And I have given a lot away today. If people truly understand what I have said, like, please send this to your local chemists, your local nuclear chemists, your local electrists, and especially people working on hydrogen, or maybe not them because they might come for me. Actually, I don't know, right? Like, fuck it. Happy 5th of July. It is, let the light shine. Send this to everyone. Peer review it. I'm hesitant. Don't put it into non-corrupted AI. So you have to have your own AI agent. Don't run it through, don't fucking give this to Chat GPT or anything else. All right, this is not to be. But if you have a separate non-corrupted AI agent you run yourself, you are allowed to test it out and peer review through that. But don't fucking pull a Terrence Howard. Do a Wei-Ping Yu, which says they are not allowed to use AI, just like what Sal Pius also says, just like what Jack Sarfati says. And they're the top scientist government spooks I've been able to talk to, and they all say the same thing. So, I've yet to talk to Wei-Ping Yu. And I don't know if he's a spook. He's more of NASA, so hopefully it's civilian, and hopefully I will be able to, I know I will be able to, but have major breakthroughs with him at Tesla Tech in exactly 1 month from today. August 5th will be my presentation, and going to try to get him there early. I believe his presentation is on the 7th with Terrence Howard as well. And if you can't make it in person, Steve is selling online viewerships of it. I will have the private streams of some of the interviews we'll be doing, as well as bonus extra remote guests participating in live stream interviews as the conference is going on. There's going to be a whole lot of epic amazingness, real science. And Aaron, that is okay because you can rewatch this epic episode. And it is 4:04 a.m. We're getting to the 2-hour mark. Hans, any last words, my friend?
Not really. Other than, hey, I've got a bunch of books for sale.
Yeah, absolutely, bro. I'm working on my presentation. So if you can help me in any way, donate, help crowdsource funds, just promote. Like, I can't pay to beat, like, Mr. Beast with his slop, paying YouTube to fucking spam the algorithm. So we have to overcome right. I not gonna waste money on that I don't have on advertising. So we need you to like, share, subscribe, hit the notification, make clips of this, and send it to those you think will be
Alchemist.com, and I guess
I don't have no cryptoalchemist.com. It was burncrown.com, but that's story again for another day. Happy 4th of July. Happy Hangover America. Happy 5th of July. Calgary's the Stampede this week. It's I'll try to get a Stampede job, but it's not shit. It's already I don't know. Anyways, ta-ta, y'all. Much love.
Peace
Until
out.
Wednesday. Woo woo.
You crazy mother. Yeah.
It's just BurnEye.
Hey, Bernie, just like last week, huh?
Weekend at Bernie's.